see this red car, is a red Dodge Stratus, and they pull up towards me, and I'm thinking, oh great, what is this now? And this woman, she was dressed very nice, and she rolls her window down, and she goes, excuse me, are you Michael? And she goes, my name's Sue, and God talks to me, and he says that he needs to tell you a few things. None of this is from me. He says that you're going to know what it's referring to.
So, looking through what you sent my way, looks like you survived a desperate attempt on your life, and then you watched God supernaturally close your wound, and then he sent a stranger who repeated every word you had prayed. So tell me more, Michael. What happened?
Basically, I'll try to summarize it here because there's been a lot that has happened. I grew up when I was younger. We used to, some of my earliest memories are of going to the church. I don't remember exactly, if it's a Presbyterian or whatever it was. It was a Christian of sorts. My biological father was an abusive drunk. I even remember there was an incident where he got mad because we went to church and he didn't like the way that pastor preached. There was a friend of the family that quote unquote saved us from this man, which it was kind of like a out of the frying pan into the fire type of a situation for me, because that person also ended up assaulting me for several years, from about the age of 3.5, 4 years old, all the way till I was about 13, 14. And simultaneously, while that was happening, even though I had told my mother at the time, multiple times throughout the years, I was, she didn't believe me. She called me a liar, allowed it to continue to happen and whatnot. And, she simultaneously would take me to, doctors, cause I would act out and stuff like that. But she would take me to doctors and have me prescribed, medications. And at one point, I was on, I think it was about 9 different medications. I was on Ritalin, Seroquel, lithium, Risperdal, Suprexis, and Volta, and I think there was 1 or 2 other ones. And it was just really bad. And as I got into my teenage years, which is the peak of it, my teenage years, at about 13, everything that was happening to me all those years as a child ended up coming out, and this person went on the run and whatnot. And it was this big thing. But because of this, at 13, he goes on the run. And my only real role model, friend, whatever you want to call it, protector that I looked up to was my brother. And it's a 9-year difference there. Mm-hmm. He's 9 years older than me. But he started distancing himself from me. And I got to a point in my life where I just felt like I could be in a room full of people and I was still alone, And one night enough was enough, and I took, I don't even remember exactly how many. It was a whole bunch of blood thinners, a whole bunch of my mother's painkillers, and I hopped into a shower when my body tried to start rejecting the pills, and not to go into any graphic details, but I did things from wrist to forearm, and significantly deep on both of them. And I started to kind of just doze off in the hot water, and I was just kind of done and over with it, And I ended up waking up, I don't know, probably still coming to, I should say, several hours later. And I looked at my arms immediately, and I know how severe of a job I had did, because the color wasn't light red, it was dark red, and it wasn't drips and drops, it was pouring. Wow. And so I was like, oh yeah, I was like, I'm like, in my mind I was happy. I was like, good, that's good, I'm done, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. And in my mind, as I'm thinking these things and I'm making this decision, I'm also simultaneously kind of shooting a prayer out there, like, not necessarily a prayer, but more of a conversation. Like, hey, if you're real, then then why have I gone through this? Why does it feel like this? Why would you allow me to be so alone? Why would, just all these questions that I've had over the years, because I feel like it's just always been something in my life. And one of the ways I described it was like, I felt like I was in this pit, like a really deep well. And, anytime I would try to climb up and get close to the lip of the well, or even, where the sunshine could start hitting me, so to speak, I feel like everything would just break loose. My footing would break loose. Everything would be swept out from under me, and I would end up lower than I was before. And this applied to, like, me trying to get a summer job. This applied to me trying to reconnect with my mother or my family and try to heal those wounds that were, caused by, not believing me. This just applied to making friends, just everything. And so when I came to, after I had done the deed and I looked at my arm, I watched as the muscle tissue and the main vein, artery, whatever it is that runs right there on your forearms, I watched as that closed up. And I immediately, because, yeah, supernaturally, I still have scars from it, and you can actually see the width of the scar. But so, I mean, like it's about as wide as my thumb. And this was roughly 20-ish years ago, give or take, roughly. And for, so for it to be as wide as my thumb, it's got to be, significantly deep for it to, yeah. And so on top of that, all of the painkiller, I had taken Oxycontins, and I took probably half a bottle worth of Oxycontin 10s. Jeez. And then on top of that, the blood thinners too, and then the hot shower. Cause I was like, I didn't want to cause, even when I was doing this, I was like, yeah, my family or whoever finds me, I don't want there to be that big of a mess for them. Like I was still trying to be, considerate, as sick as that thinking is, or as wrong or whatever. But, yeah, I came to, I watched it close, and as it happened, I immediately knew it was supernatural and God. And I personally was furious. I was like, what the hell? And I actually started cussing. Yeah, I actually started cussing God out. And I'm going off on him, verbally to myself, but not like, I'm not screaming or nothing, but like just under my breath, like, what the hell? If heaven's real, if you're real, if, right? Just a million different ifs. And I'm like, where I'm coming from, how I'm at, you know, and you would still continue to allow this for what? Like, why? And, when I come to, I don't know what else to do. I'm starving. I'm assuming probably because of the pills. And I go to the kitchen, and I go to pour myself some cereal, and I go to get the milk, and there's no milk. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. If it's not one thing, it's the next. It's always something. My whole life is like this. And I go outside, and I had a 97 Toyota Camry at this time. And I go start my Camry, and the starter gets stuck because I just want to go down to the corner store and get some milk and just continue on with my day, because I don't know what else to do. And, I'm just defeated. And of course the starter sticks, and I'm still in my head just listing off everything that I've been through and how I feel and for how long I felt that way. And, all the stuff that I went through Child Haven. I went through, the SA continued after that. I was given back to the same people, just all these, just everything. And so I had a little moped in the back, and I go wrestle the moped out, and I go start the moped, and the battery is dead. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is what I'm talking about. It's always something. I can never just get to a place where I can be content. And, I take the battery out of the Camry, and I put it on the moped, and, I'm still just praying and just talking towards God in my head and just to myself. And, I make it down to the corner store, and I get the milk, and I put a little gas in the moped, and I go start the moped up, and the fuse breaks. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm already just so defeated. Right. And I'm just like, oh, God, dude. And I'm at the corner store, and I live in Vegas. So, anyone that's familiar with Vegas, there's 3 corner stores at the corner that I'm at. And it's also like 5 a.m. But for whatever reason, none of the corner stores happen to have a pack of fuses. And so I'm just sitting there waiting, and I left my cell phone at the house, and I'm just sitting there waiting, and I had called my mom to bring me some fuses from the house because I knew that she got up roughly around that time. And luckily I wasn't like I was out of the way for her to go to work or nothing. She could just drop them right by. So as I'm waiting for her to bring me these fuses, and I'm sitting outside of the bar that was nice enough to let me use their phone to call her, I'm still just praying and just going over all these things that I've been through in my life. And, this, I'll never forget it. I lived on the east side of Las Vegas at this time, which is not necessarily the nicer side of Vegas, kind of, older or ghetto or whatever you want to call it. And, I'll never forget it. This woman, well, I see this red car, is a red Dodge Stratus, and they pull out of the plaza and they turn onto the street, but they're only going like a mile an hour. And I'm watching them as they're going this slow, and then they pull back in and they pull up towards me, and I'm thinking, oh great, what is this now? Because, I've been in trouble with the law, and everything else. And I'm like, great, what am I going to get 86ed or something? Am I going to get trespassed? I'm not even doing something. Like, what else? What more can you possibly throw at me? Like, and this woman, it was a black woman, but she was dressed very nice. And the car didn't even belong on that side of the town, and she didn't look like she belonged on our side of town. And she rolls her window down, and she goes, "Excuse me, are you Michael?" And I was in such a mood that I was like, "That depends who's asking." and and she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to intrude." But she goes, I believe she said her name was Sue or Susan, and she goes, "My name's Sue, and God talks to me, and he says that he needs to tell you a few things." And I immediately perked up, and I was like, okay. And she goes, "None of this is from me. He says that you're going to know what it's referring to, and that you need to hear some things." And she said, okay. And she proceeds to repeat back to me, God says that he knows that you feel like you're in a pit. He says that he knows that you feel like when you're in a room full of people that you're still all alone. He says that he knows that you feel like, X, Y, Z. He knows this. He knows that. She starts alluding to things that happened to me in my childhood that the only people that know about it are me and the perpetrator and God. And the perpetrator's dead. He died in prison. He did end up getting caught. And he did get sentenced and whatnot. Matter of fact, he was caught because of Oprah and the Child Predator Watch program. So you can actually, I'm actually online. It can be Googled. Yeah. She says that he knows that you feel like, that you feel like giving up, and he knows that you feel like you're in the pit. And as soon as you get to a place where you're comfortable or just content, not even happy, that everything just breaks loose, and it's just one challenge after the next. And he says that he doesn't, not to give up. He says that the bend is right around the corner. The light is right around the corner. Just keep at it. Hang in there. That he'll never give you more than what you can handle. Just always remember to reach out to him, and that he'll always give his toughest battles to his strongest warriors. And, that's something that's just stuck with me. I've still had, I've made mistakes since then. I thought that was a supernatural encounter, but I was young and naive. I made other mistakes since then, like, I have a criminal history now. I got lazy. Instead of taking it as the message to, that, hey, he has his eye on me, and to put in the work. And, they say, the book says, to even, if you give 1%, he'll meet you 99 until eventually, you work your way up to giving 50%. He'll meet you the other halfway, but he'll meet you where you're at. And, me personally, I just kind of thought that, oh, okay. Like, I sat back and, to be honest, I kind of screwed around, and, I ended up getting into drugs and this, that, whatever. All the while, this feeling never left me or anything like that. So I, kind of messed up. I didn't put in the work that I was supposed to, but I also realized that everything happens for a reason. And that, you know, in my time and all the stuff that I've gone through, I've met people that I've told my story to, and I've had grown men break down and you know, tell me that they went through something similar. And I've saved a couple of people's lives from, you know, trying to take similar actions. And you know, I'm a firm believer now, looking back on it, that yes, everything does happen for a reason. And I was lucky enough, you know, I've even been incarcerated, and during my incarceration, I was blessed and lucky enough to be able to host a Bible study virtually nightly. I was blessed enough to be able to get into my word and, you know, kind of see that, yes, you know, like I would love to teach, and I love when I receive revelations from the Spirit. And, you know, I've just learned that everything, absolutely everything does indeed happen for a reason. You know, and I can look back, I can even, you know, I still look at the scars, periodically and think of that night and what was said to me. And it's like, you know, no matter what I go through, I can know for a fact that there's a plan. I can know for a fact that there's a reason. Sometimes some of the stuff that I went through, I didn't get to see the reason until, you know, 20 years down the road. Like for 20 years, I would sit there questioning, why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Or why would this one little interaction be on my mind for 15 years? Or why this or why that? And then years and years down the road, I get to, you know, see the reason why. And, you know, it's just further instilled in me that, you know, we're working on his time. And even though his message to me was like, you know, just to hang in there, the light's right around the corner, just a little while longer, you know, what is a little while to me and you is not the same as a little while to God. You know, he's timeless, and everything comes when it's supposed to. His timing truly is perfect. And that's one of the things, you know, I live a pretty relaxed life. I don't let too many things stress me out. I don't worry too much because I know that there's a reason, there's a try. And then on top of that, you know, sometimes the reason is just that the enemy is trying to make you stumble, you know, and sometimes it's God putting his faith in us that we can handle it as his children, that we can handle whatever situation is being presented to us. And I just think that whenever, what is it, First James, that says, you know, count it all joys when we face various trials and tribulations. And I'm like, yeah, because, you know, it does produce perseverance, and it does end up making us grow. And it does, you know, you are supposed to be thankful for these things. And just that was probably, that is my biggest encounter and my first encounter with God. Wow. In terms of on that level.
That's a powerful one. I love how you said he gives toughest battles to his strongest warriors. Man.
Yeah.
Man. But in the process, when you're going through it, doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah.
But he says, count it all joy. Count it all joy. But in the moment, in the heat of the moment, joy.
In the heat of the moment. Yeah, no.
It's pain.
Joy is hard to find.
But you know, pain without purpose is suffering. You know, your past doesn't have to be a crutch. It could be a leverage. And
100%.
And now you're looking back, you see, you're putting it all together, you zoom out, you had some time to process. You can see now that everything that you went through is for a reason. And I'll tell you this, you said you share your testimony from time to time and people are in tears crying. I guarantee you right now, people, when I publish this, when they're watching this, listening to this, there'll be thousands on their knees.
Yeah. I would love to be able to help more people. I don't necessarily have a platform, and I don't necessarily know how to go about doing it. And
well, you're on the one right now, and this right here, this could be the moment that you were born for. You know, you have no idea how many people on the other end right now listening to you in the future for days and weeks and months and years to come, that this message will prevent them from taking their own life. I mean, just let that sink in, you know? A lot of times, even me, myself, when I look at all the numbers of people listening and, you know, thousands, you know, there's like 3 million views per month kind of thing. And you just look at that, you know that in numbers, it's hard to comprehend these are people. And so, Michael, people are listening to you right now. They're not just numbers. And right now, to that person, the person that you were once, let's say that the person that was about to take their own life, the old you is listening. What would you tell that person right now?
You know, me personally, if I could go back, and this is specifically just for me, because of that encounter, I wouldn't. That encounter literally shifted my entire perception of life. Ever since that encounter, I have never came into a hardship. Even I was homeless. I've been homeless. I've been incarcerated. I've slept in park slides. I've, had to weather storms. I've been in the desert. I'm in Las Vegas, the summer heat and homeless, the crazy winters and out there. I was homeless for several years. And even in the midst of that, it was, because of that encounter, I knew that there was a reason. I knew that there was a reason. I knew that I would catch a break. I knew that it wasn't the end. So for me, going back, I don't know if I would have had that encounter had I not been as defeated as I was, if the enemy had not tricked me into attempting what I attempted. And it's further proof that, if he has a plan, like Jonah, if he's got a plan for you, it doesn't matter how much you run, you kick, you scream, you cry, you're going to do it. He's going to keep you around. And so for me personally, the only thing I could probably give myself in terms of advice would be, is to tell myself even back then that there's a reason for everything.
Absolutely.
There's an absolute reason.
Well, and I'm thinking about that lady that pulled up to your neighborhood. And I don't know if that person was an angel, an actual person, but think about that person. Let's say she was an actual person who was being obedient. Think about her journey. She was clearly from the other side of town. She did not belong. And God probably spoke to her that morning, said, you drive there to the...
It's actually funny.
Go ahead.
No, it's funny that you mentioned that because after she gave me the message and after she prayed for me, I started talking. I was like, how did you find me over here? And she goes, well, I had to get up super early to take my daughter to band practice. I had to drop her off early at her school. And I was, here it comes. The little things that are coincidences that we think are coincidences, they're not coincidences. Those are like God giving you a nod. It's like a God nod, like, hey, what's up? I see you. Because she goes, I dropped my daughter off and I was just going to the gas station to get some milk. And that's the whole reason that I left, because I didn't know what else to do. I was just going to get some milk. And she goes, when I pulled into the gas station, as I was going to the gas station, God told me to get on the freeway. And I'm obedient. So I got on the freeway. She drove a 45-minute drive to get to where I was at. So she said that when she got to the Boulder Highway exit on the freeway, she took it and God told her just to turn here, turn there. And she ended up in the same plaza that I was in. And it was so early in the morning that the Albertsons wasn't even open. So she drove by the Albertsons thinking, okay, maybe I'm supposed to have an encounter. Maybe I'm supposed to get my milk here. And, as she was leaving that plaza, seeing that the Albertsons was closed, I was sitting there on the sidewalk because it's a whole plaza. There's a whole bunch of little shops and stuff connected. And one of the things that's connected is a bar, and that happens to be 24 hours, which happened to let me use the phone. So I was sitting there on the side, waiting for my mom to bring me said fuses. And, she goes, God told me to get on the freeway and drive. So I did. And, and as soon as I seen you, when she was leaving the Albertsons parking lot, she said the reason she was going so slow was because as she looked at me, God told her, that's Michael. You need to go speak to him. There's some things I need to tell him.
Oh my gosh. By the way, did she have milk on her? Didn't she go to get the milk?
Yeah. She had milk on her. She had a gallon of milk on her.
Did she give it to you for cereal?
No, I had the milk on. I had milk on me also, but
gotcha.
It was just funny that we had the same brand, the same type, the same everything,
wow.
And that was the whole reason that she was leaving that morning was to go get the milk. And she initially actually pulled in. She got the milk from the same gas station that my scooter was sitting at across the street. It was sitting right there. because I was meeting my mom where would be easiest for her to meet me, compared to her having to deal with the light and, you do a U-turn and this, that, and the third. So she actually said, she goes, I pulled into that gas station and I went and I got my milk, and God told me to go across the street to the Albertsons. And I was like, she goes, I don't question him. I just listen because I don't know what the plan is. And she goes, when I seen that it was closed, I didn't hear from him. And as I was leaving and doing my head checks, as soon as I seen you, he said, that's Michael. You need to go speak to him for me.
Chills, Michael.
Yeah.
I mean, I get to hear a lot of calls, right? Probably near over 2,000 conversations since I started this podcast a year ago. And this one is top 5. I just love the minor details, right? God is in the details. It's the little things.
He is.
And I love her. So it's like you were encouraged by that. She was encouraged by that. But her obedience. Think about this. What if she's like, I'm too busy. I got to go take care of things. We're all busy. But no, she drove 45 minutes out of the way. Probably saved your life. I mean, you held on to that experience probably for years. Probably still holding on. You're probably still holding on to that experience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I will never forget it. It's as clear as day. And every time I tell this story, I get, the spirit hits me. My hair stands up.
Well, and think about this.
I will never.
Think about this. Her story, like her obedience, so blessed you, saved your life, totally changed the trajectory of your life. And then everyone listening on this call, which who knows how many people, thousands, will be listening to this conversation. It will be a blessing to them. One ripple, one step of obedience blessed you, and God knows how many more. And you sharing this testimony, you being obedient in your step, man, so encouraging. I'm curious, did you get her contact information? Do you stay in touch with her?
So I did get her contact information at the time, but I've been through a lot since then. Homelessness, incarceration, addiction. I've been through a lot since then, and I've lost it. I just remember, I want to say that her name was Sue or Susan, and she had a red Dodge Stratus. And we were on the east side of Vegas, and I wish, or I hope, I pray that, maybe she hears this, or somebody that knows her hears it, and maybe is able to reach back out to me, because she, to this day, even that morning, she had no idea what I had done. She, I was hiding my forearms as I was talking to her. I had it facing inward, so that.
Well, Sue, if you're watching this, listening to this in the future, leave a comment below or reach out to me, VladimirGodsVoice.com. I'd love to hear her side of the story. Can you imagine? Oh, man. Yeah. But another thing I love what you said. You said, put in the work. Don't be lazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I sat back and just kind of was hoping for a miracle, like, just, win a lottery or something like that, I was like, oh, okay, God's got my back, and he sees me, he knows, he gets the struggle, he's going to fix everything for me. And I just kind of sat back on my haunches and I didn't put in any work. I just expected, magical blessings with no effort, no work, no obedience. And, I've learned since then that, no, that's not the way. I have to put in the work. And I will say that, so far, even when things have looked pretty dark, even currently things are not where I would want them to be. And it's just like, I know there's a reason for a struggle, and I don't think that, there's a reason for everything. And the most frustrating, it's so frustrating when you truly understand it, because I've been through parts of my life where, during my homelessness, I was like, dude, I was so frustrated because I was trying and trying and trying. And I was like, man, none of this seems to work, and I just don't get it. But then in my mind, I knew that God was watching, and I knew that there was a reason for all of this. And so it's like, what, am I going to be mad or frustrated with God? There's a reason that I'm going through all of this. Right. So what am I? So the hardest thing is that you have to find peace
in the moment,
in the moment, in the trials, in the tribulations,
Because it's only going to make sense years later when you have time to process, to zoom out. And so that's a great encouragement for people watching. You might be, in life, you're either about to enter a storm, in the middle of a storm, or coming out of the storm, right? And when you're in the middle of the storm, it's hard to zoom out and see the positive side of all of that. But man, I just want to
Yeah.
encourage everybody watching that just because you're in the thick of it, you have that tunnel vision, you don't see the meaning. Again, pain without purpose is suffering, but find the
Yeah.
purpose. Find the purpose in your pain, because years later you'll zoom out. You'll get that bird's eye view and it'll all make sense. But until that moment,
Yeah.
you just got to be faithful.
And even in that moment, you have to truly rest assured that there is a reason. And you have to take peace in the fact that, you know what? I don't know what the reason is. I don't know what the logic is. I can't see how this could possibly be beneficial in any way, shape, or form. But you know what? I know that it will be. And you have to take your peace and serenity from that, and then just, go with the flow and deal with the situation. But know that there is indeed a reason. And that's the scary part. That's faith. When I was giving my Bible studies, one of the analogies that I used to use is that, think about, I don't know, I'm sure you're sitting down right now, but when you took your seat, did you check your chair for structural integrity? Did you check to make sure that chair was going to hold you up? Did you check all the screws and the legs and the this and that to make sure that it was going to support your weight? No, of course not. You just sat down in it like you do a million times. And that's exactly how faith is you have to actually, the same way that you just sit down into a chair, that's literally like faith. You know that the chair is going to hold you, or you assume. I don't know about you, but I've had a chair break on me before. I've had a lawn chair break on me. Yeah. And I didn't get suspect of the next lawn chair. I just went and sat in it. I didn't get suspect of it. I didn't sit there and test the next one. And I'm like, that's that moment where you're bending down and your butt's going to touch the chair, that free fall moment. That's like how faith is. That's the type of blind faith that he asks us to have, to not even question it even a little bit.
Man, I love all that. And I just interviewed somebody this morning, and this lady heard God's voice and he said, "Do you trust me?" And that's what I ask all of the listeners, people that are watching this right now. Do you trust him? Just trust that he has you. You put trust in him, have peace that he is in control. He knows what he's doing. But I do love this aspect of your story, how God uses people. He used a lady across town who was available there. I'm sure there are other people close by that probably should be available, but they weren't.
Yeah.
But she said, "Hey, here I am, Lord, use me."
Yes.
And she was available, saved your life, and doesn't even know it probably. Hopefully this will get to her. She'll see it in a life review. Absolutely she will. She will see the fruit of her. And it's interesting, like sometimes you think, like, my life is insignificant. I haven't done much. And then, like a lot of people that I have on the show, they have life reviews and they see the minor details, the ripple that it creates. Like her ripple is huge. Now, years later, now the show is gonna be published and it's gonna bless other people and your family and your future family. It just that story will be told forever and ever and ever. And so I just want to encourage everybody, don't get weary in doing good. Little things, smiling at somebody, saying something kind. People hold back such nice words. Why hold them back? If you see somebody doing something nice, get out of your way and just say something. Hey, love your smile, or something. Find something positive to say about somebody.
A compliment can change the whole
just acknowledge them.
Day.
You're a human being. I see you. Hey, love your outfit. It's so cool. That's so awesome. And that one thing can prevent them from, taking their own life. It's good to be seen. It's good to be seen. Well, in closing, I do love that analogy. What a visual you painted about the well, right? When you were in that well, it seemed like when you got to the top and then you fell, and it's like you take one step forward and 2-3 steps back. And I know how that feels. And for people watching, those people in that situation, I just want to encourage you, man, there's method to the madness, right? God is in control. You do have a call. Yeah. He has a purpose and meaning. I just came back from Kentucky. I shared this earlier in one of the phone calls. I was touring Noah's Ark. And just watching it's massive structure in the middle of Kentucky, and it's beautiful. And just reading up on it, how many years it took to build it, like 70 or 80. There are different guesses, but regardless, a long time. And here's a man who took on a challenge, persevered, and in the end, it all made sense, right?
An insurmountable challenge at that.
Yeah.
The angels had to help him finish.
But he was obedient. Be faithful in little, and more will be added unto you. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone. All you have is right now. And so the big question is, what can you do right now? Don't worry about tomorrow. Yesterday's already gone. Can't fret about that. I mean, it's gone. It's behind. You can't do anything about yesterday. But all you have is right now. So, Michael, in closing, I don't know how to lend this other than to give it to you. Is there anything that you want to say before we disconnect?
Just if there's anybody out there listening and you think that there's no way that someone can understand, trust me, there's someone that can understand. I can sympathize and understand with almost everything. Like I said, I went through things as a child. I went through Munchausen syndrome by proxy. I've been through addiction. I've been through incarceration. I've been there, and there is a reason. There is a reason, and if people wanted to reach out, I don't really know any of the process or anything like that to do it, but I'll share a Facebook link or something with you, and if anyone ever needs to talk,
absolutely,
if anyone ever needs to talk, and you don't think that anyone can understand, trust me, I can understand, and there is a reason. There is a reason for everything. There is a plan. It is to see you prosper. It is to help, your fellow brothers and sisters, because we are all one through Christ. We all have the same Father. He loves us, and that there is a reason. So don't let the enemy win. Don't let those thoughts, if those thoughts are not of love and caring and compassion, they are not of our Father, and do not entertain them. Like, you're not a weirdo. You're not, different. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Like, don't let that stuff win and beat you down. There is a reason, and there is hope, and you can find peace.
Amen. And one more question. I just looked at my notes about your parents.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to connect with them? Was there any kind of reconciliation?
So, my biological father, like I said, he was an abusive drunk. We moved away from him when I was 3.5-ish, 4 years old, something like that. I only talked to him once or twice as I was growing up. He did find us, but he found us, our phone number. And I was a child. I was an early teenager when he did find us, and my earliest memories weren't the best. And he kind of asked if I ever wanted to go down and visit him, and I said no. I didn't really care too much. So I don't really know where that is on God's spectrum and whatnot. I don't really know. My mother, she actually just recently passed, 2 years ago. And, I forgave. I never forgot. I forgave. I addressed, certain issues, but, unfortunately, certain things that she was, sick with, or certain, I don't know if they were demons or what it was, but she never really fixed certain things. I did pray for her and whatnot, and she did say she was a believer, but she also seemed very concerned about death and that their process. Me personally, I can't wait. I can't wait till my mission here is over and I get to go home and get to rejoice with the Father. It'll be a very pleasant and peaceful day. So I don't think that there's anything to fear in terms of that. So I don't really know where she landed in terms of on the spectrum. I don't know if she ever forgave herself or anything like that. And my brother, which is the only real person that I cared about, I had found out just a couple years back that he actually blamed himself for everything that transpired during my childhood. And that was very devastating to me to find out that he blamed himself, because I never blamed him, and it was not his fault in any way, shape, or form. But I guess that's kind of how big brothers work,
Mm-hmm.
So I did address it with him, though. I was like, hey, I just found out that, you blame yourself, and I just wanted you to know I never would. I've never once thought about it like that. You know, I was mad. I was mad that he distanced himself during my teenage years after everything came out. But I found out that the reason he distanced himself is because he was so ashamed and embarrassed and just beating himself up. And he couldn't stand to be in my presence because he was so mad at himself for letting what happened to me as a kid happen. And I was like, hey, you didn't exactly handle that right. I never once blame you. I love you to death. You're my brother. Please don't do that. So I hope that I fixed or at least help alleviate, because, you know, we carry around weights every single day that we have no idea that we're carrying.
All of us.
Yeah.
But we can give that to him. We don't have to. And it's interesting. I was just talking to somebody at the wedding in Columbus, Ohio. I went for a wedding. And yeah, that shame, that guilt, that condemnation, man, body keeps the score. It takes everything that you're experiencing, like in the spiritual realm, what you carry, all that weight eventually will show up in health, bad health. Yep. And so that's why we are to give all of our burdens, all of our cares to the Lord. Fear is a big one. Yep. People live in fear. If you don't have burdens, people just live in fear about everything. And we are not to fear.
Yeah, fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, fear of being ashamed, fear of rejection, even for me, is a huge one that I have to almost on a daily basis remind myself that, you know, it doesn't matter, or, you know, fear of being scoffed at or ridiculed or mocked, you know. And when you really, 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 really do some self-searching, you realize that you base your decisions ultimately, I don't want to be embarrassed. So you're afraid of being embarrassed. It's not the embarrassment, because if we do something and we're joking around and having a good time, and, you know, you take a pie to the face, it's kind of embarrassing, but it's also funny, so it's acceptable. You know what I'm saying? So it's not the embarrassment, it's the fear of embarrassment. But fear is a huge one that, do a lot of self-searching. Don't ever let it get to you. Don't ever be afraid to declare your love or your loyalty or your belief or your allegiance to God. You know, don't ever be afraid to claim him. Don't ever, because I promise you he's there. I promise you he's watching. There's no way that woman knew the things that she knew. She alluded to things that, you know, like I said, there's only me, that man, and God that knew what happened. And there's no freaking way. You will never in a million years get me to ever question God's existence. 100%.
You know, so many things just front. I know we already, I almost ended the show and now we're having like another mini show, but there's so many nuggets you're sharing, so many things just in my brain, just being activating. And one visual, this is kind of like going back to the fear and just living of, you know, shame, guilt, condemnation, all that stuff. I remember watching a football game. I think it was like Ohio State, Cardell Jones. I think back in the day, I liked to watch football. Mm-hmm. And I remember this kid threw an interception and the coach was just like on him and yelling at him and national TV in front of everybody. And it looked like things were going to go south. And this kid was just watching, just like not fazed by any of that. It's like he was so dead to self. Like he's just like, okay, whatever. Let's get this over with. Sits down, comes back up, just like calm, just throw every play, just delivers play after play, wins the whole national championship. And I remember thinking like, wow. And in that moment, it's like the Lord spoke to me. He says, this is like, you can't let the issues, problems derail you from your purpose. This guy was just like, calm as calm can be. Most people would be like crying in tears. This guy wasn't. And then on the flip side, I remember watching a game recently, a kicker, same thing, just like somebody got in his head. He comes up, like he missed one, and then you see it spiral, right? He missed the next field goal and the next field goal because he's guilt, shame, and condemnation just creating more issues down the road, right? And because he can't forgive himself, he can't move on. And how important it is to live in that kind of mindset, just to cast all your cares on the Lord. Just like, hey, I'm just being obedient. I'm taking that step. I'm right here. Lord told me come here. I'm coming there. He'll tell me what to say, how to say it. My job is to be obedient, just like Noah, right? His job was to be obedient. He sent the animals and everything else. His role was just like, do what I told you to do. And that's it. And if you mess up, ask for forgiveness, get back up, keep doing over and over and over. Mess up, ask for forgiveness over and over. So I don't know who this is for, but man, that was a good illustration, a good visual for myself that as you were sharing all this. But Michael, man, I want to say a huge thank you for sharing all of that. I know we were supposed to have a conversation on Friday, and I had to cancel, but I appreciate you not giving up on sharing the story. Thank you so much for sharing, and we'll stay in touch, man. This is going to be a blessing to a lot of people. Thank you.
Yeah, by all means, I would definitely appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity, and just the enemy has been doing the same thing for millennia. He's only got a handful of tricks, but you can be your own worst enemy. Yes. All it takes is for that enemy to plant a seed, and your own imagination will run wild and give you scenarios that are worse than anything that he can concoct. So do not get down on yourself. Do not, give up. Do not, break in. None of that. Just if it's not of love or even more so compassion, do not entertain such thoughts. Absolutely. But yes, and there's a reason for everything. Who's to say that there's not a listener out there that wouldn't have been able to hear it on Friday, but they were able to hear it today.
Amen, amen. And for everybody watching, if you don't have a local church, I strongly believe that you are to find your family. Don't forsake the gathering. You need that family. Join us online at family.godsvoiceday.com. Absolutely free. We do prayer calls every morning, but if you don't have a church, definitely look for one. Find your church. And Michael, to you, thank you so much. Appreciate you being so generous with your time. Wow, 46 minutes later, we're still talking. Thank you so much, Michael. God bless you. This is not the last time I'll speak, I promise. Take care. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, can you do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel? And also want to invite you to join our free private community with thousands of members at godsvoicefamily.com. And lastly, if you thought this testimony was powerful, wait until you check out what I have for you next. It should be on the screen right now. Go ahead, click on that video, and I'll see you there.